Long ago, Allah blessed a righteous ruler known as Dhul-Qarnayn with great authority, wisdom, and strength. Unlike ordinary kings who sought wealth and fame, he ruled with justice and obedience to Allah. The Qur'an tells us that Allah gave him every means to achieve his mission, allowing him to travel across vast lands and help different nations. Wherever he went, he judged fairly and encouraged righteousness. His power was never for personal glory, but to fulfill Allah's command. His remarkable journey became one of the greatest stories recorded in Surah Al-Kahf, inspiring believers throughout history. Dhul-Qarnayn traveled west until he reached the place where the sun appeared to set. The Qur'an describes that it seemed to disappear into a dark body of water from the observer's perspective. There he encountered a community of people. Allah gave him a choice: punish those who persisted in wrongdoing or treat them with justice. Dhul-Qarnayn declared that wrongdoers would face punishment, while those who believed and acted righteously would receive kindness and mercy. His decision reflected the balance between justice and compassion, qualities that distinguished him as a faithful servant of Allah. After completing his western expedition, Dhul-Qarnayn journeyed eastward until he reached a land where people lived under the direct heat of the rising sun. They possessed little protection from its intense rays. The Qur'an briefly mentions these people without detailing their culture or identity, emphasizing instead Allah's complete knowledge of everything Dhul-Qarnayn encountered. Once again, the righteous ruler fulfilled his responsibility wisely and continued his mission without arrogance. Every destination reminded him that human civilization is diverse, yet all people remain under the authority of the same Creator who governs the heavens and the earth. Continuing his journey, Dhul-Qarnayn reached a region between two enormous mountains. There he found a people who could barely understand the languages spoken by outsiders. Despite the communication barrier, they managed to explain their desperate situation. Beyond the mountain pass lived the destructive tribes of Gog and Magog, known in Arabic as Ya'juj and Ma'juj. These people repeatedly invaded the surrounding lands, spreading corruption, violence, and fear. Unable to defend themselves, the frightened community turned to Dhul-Qarnayn, hoping the righteous ruler would provide protection against the constant threat that endangered their lives. The grateful people offered Dhul-Qarnayn wealth in exchange for building a barrier between them and Gog and Magog. However, the righteous king refused to act for personal profit. He declared that what Allah had already given him was far better than any payment they could offer. Instead, he requested only their physical assistance. Together, they would build a mighty structure capable of protecting the land. His humility demonstrated that sincere leadership serves people for the sake of Allah rather than material gain. The great construction project was about to begin, requiring cooperation, determination, and unwavering faith. Dhul-Qarnayn instructed the people to bring large pieces of iron. Men and women worked together, carrying heavy metal blocks into the narrow mountain pass. Instead of relying on miracles alone, the righteous king organized the community, teaching them that success often comes through effort combined with trust in Allah. Day after day, the gap between the mountains slowly disappeared beneath layers of iron. Every worker contributed according to their strength, while Dhul-Qarnayn directed the construction with wisdom and fairness. The growing barrier symbolized unity, perseverance, and responsible leadership under the guidance of Allah. When the iron structure reached the height of the surrounding mountains, Dhul-Qarnayn ordered the workers to blow powerful bellows. The roaring furnaces produced intense heat until the iron became red hot. Flames illuminated the valley and sparks filled the air as everyone continued working with determination. The Quran highlights this remarkable engineering process, demonstrating knowledge, planning, and cooperation rather than magic. Every stage required patience and discipline. Through this project, Allah showed that human intelligence and practical skills are valuable blessings when they are used responsibly in the service of justice and the protection of innocent people. After the iron had become intensely hot, Dhul-Qarnayn commanded that molten copper be poured over its surface. The liquid metal flowed into every opening, strengthening the barrier and making it even more difficult to damage. This extraordinary construction reflected advanced engineering described in the Quran. The wall was designed not for oppression or conquest, but for protection against corruption and violence. By combining iron with molten copper, the structure became incredibly strong. The people watched with hope as the final layers hardened, believing that Allah had answered their desperate prayers through the efforts of a righteous leader. When the barrier was completed, Gog and Magog found themselves unable to overcome it. They could neither climb its towering height nor break through its reinforced structure. For the first time in many years, the surrounding communities experienced peace and security. Fear gave way to gratitude as families returned to their daily lives without the constant threat of invasion. Yet Dhul-Qarnayn did not boast about his achievement. He understood that no human accomplishment exists independently of Allah's will. Even the strongest walls remain powerless unless Allah permits them to endure according to His divine wisdom. Standing before the completed barrier, Dhul-Qarnayn declared, "This is a mercy from my Lord." He did not claim personal greatness or celebrate his own engineering skills. Instead, he acknowledged that every success comes from Allah alone. Then he reminded the people that when Allah's appointed time arrives, the barrier will eventually be leveled. Nothing built by human hands lasts forever. This profound statement shifted attention away from worldly achievements toward the certainty of Allah's promise and the reality of the last day. True believers recognize that every blessing should inspire humility, gratitude, and unwavering faith in their Creator. After completing the barrier, Dhul-Qarnayn reminded the people that its existence depended entirely upon Allah's will. It was not an eternal monument, but a temporary mercy granted to protect humanity from corruption. Centuries would pass, kingdoms would rise and fall, yet the wall would remain until the time Allah had decreed. The Quran emphasizes that every creation has an appointed end. No fortress, empire, or invention can escape the decree of the Creator. This lesson teaches believers to place their trust not in physical structures, but in Allah, whose power alone preserves and removes all things according to His perfect wisdom. The Quran explains that Gog and Magog remain restrained until the time appointed by Allah. Their exact location is unknown to humanity, but Allah knows every hidden place on earth. Islamic teachings describe them as numerous people whose release will become one of the major signs preceding the Day of Judgment. Until that moment arrives, they remain unable to overcome the barrier that Allah allowed Dhul-Qarnayn to build. Their story reminds believers that many realities exist beyond human knowledge. Faith requires trusting Allah's revelation, even when every detail cannot be observed with human eyes or fully understood. When Allah's appointed time finally arrives, the mighty barrier will no longer stand. Its strength will disappear because every promise of Allah is true. The Qur'an declares that the wall will be reduced to the ground when the divine decree is fulfilled. Its fall will not occur because human beings discover a weakness or invent a stronger weapon, but because Allah commands it. This moment will mark the beginning of extraordinary events leading toward the last day. The collapse of the barrier demonstrates that no earthly structure, however magnificent, can resist the will of the Almighty forever. After the barrier falls, Gog and Magog will emerge in overwhelming numbers, spreading rapidly across the earth. The Qur'an describes them surging from every elevation, while authentic hadith explain that their appearance will become one of the greatest trials before the day of judgment. Their arrival will test humanity unlike anything experienced before. Yet believers remember that this event is not beyond Allah's control. The same Lord who restrained them for centuries also determines the moment of their release and the end of their influence. Every event unfolds precisely according to His perfect knowledge and wisdom. The story of Dhul-Qarnayn is not merely about an ancient wall. It is a timeless lesson about faith, justice, humility, and complete reliance upon Allah. Despite possessing immense power, Dhul-Qarnayn never claimed greatness for himself. Every achievement was attributed to the mercy of his Lord. The barrier protected people only because Allah permitted it, and it will disappear only when Allah commands it. Believers are reminded that worldly strength is temporary, while Allah's kingdom is everlasting. Through this remarkable account in Surah Al-Kahf, the Qur'an calls every generation to trust Allah, uphold justice, and prepare sincerely for the hereafter. Thank you for watching. I hope that those who subscribe and turn on notifications are blessed with abundant fortune. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.